Hi everyone, so as you know, throughout the year I'm doing these book reviews, and this is probably I don't even know what number I'm at yet. I'll probably be at number 14, 15, but every week, every Monday I upload book reviews. So I'll go to Amazon, I'll choose book titles. Sometimes Amazon have recommended them, sometimes other people have recommended them, and I'll buy a book, read the book, review it based on what my thoughts are. So the book that I'm looking at today is called How to Stop Feeling Like SHIT. Now she's put a little thing in there, but we know what it means, but that's basically the book. So the book is by Andrea Owen. She is, I don't even know if she's a counsellor or what she is. I'll just have a look. It says she shines the light on the 14 habits that are holding you back, and she explains how to take action against them once and for all. She will empower you to break the negative cycles, silence the inner critic, let go of the BS, and quit the fruitless people-pleasing that's sucking away your precious energy. So I gave the book 7.5 out of 10. So let's just, all I'm going to do is talk through a few things from the book. What I don't do is I don't read the whole book, obviously. I'll give you some information about what I found was useful in the book, and then if you feel you're interested, you can purchase it yourself. So the 16 chapters include Learn to Manage Your Inner Critic, Compare and Despair, The Imposter Complex, Feeling Like a Fraud, People Pleasing and Approval Seeking, Perfectionism Prison. They're just a few of the things that she talks about. So it provides useful tools for clients. I've definitely recommended this, and I've also used some of these with the clients I work with. I found that it was repetitive at times, so the reason it's got 7.5 is because I felt like it was good, but another review that I've done, which I gave a 10, which is Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before by Dr. Julie Smith. You can see that book review. I gave that 10 out of 10 because that was just every page had value to it, every chapter. She wasn't repeating herself. It was original because she's a psychologist. She knows what she's talking about. This person knows what they're talking about. But I just felt that it gave some good examples and some good stories and some good case studies, but it just felt repetitive at times. There was things in there about how to notice when your inner critic shows up, how to fix it, knowing what your triggers are. There was a bit around your inner critic. Speaking negatively to yourself is the most common behaviour that women engage in that makes them feel like SHIT. Where does it come from? It says it comes from family, it comes from culture. She talks about showing up. When you face a difficult and uncomfortable situation, you have two choices. You can do nothing and feel like SHIT and be scared and everything will stay the same. Or you can accept that you're uncomfortable but be brave and scared at the same time and see real change. So it says fear is part of the mix. So a lot of these books I've been reading, they are still all talking about fear and self-development, and some of them are similar. What I'm finding is there's not a lot of originality, but at the same time there's probably not enough original things to talk about when it comes to facing your fear and self-esteem. So it was interesting, but yeah, it's things that I've heard before. She talks about, instead of using affirmations, you can use a mantra. And a mantra is a powerful word and statement, usually repeated when you hear your inner critic. Here are some things you can say. I hear you and I choose not to listen. Thanks for sharing, I'm moving on. I've heard that before. I don't need to suffer about this, so I'm choosing not to. So this is when you get those negative thoughts or your inner critic pops up, you can have your own statements ready to say. She says choose a mantra to combat negative self-talk. So choose one of those which I've just mentioned and then just use that whenever your negative thoughts pop up. She talks about people not isolating yourself. Try to not isolate yourself. People do that, she says, because they're worried about being judged or being a burden. So what you have to do is just ask people for what you need. Practice being brave, take some risks. It might feel scary because you'll need to be more vulnerable, but it's worth doing. So chapter 15, there's a chapter on values. There's a chapter on facing your difficult emotions so you can experience the positive ones. So there's a page in here, I think, that I want to just read a quote from. So it says, being in long-term recovery from an eating disorder, codependency, love addiction and alcoholism has given me a handle on numbing at least what that beast looks like in my own life. In my 20s, I disassociated because it was all I knew how to do. Fear, rage, regret, resentment, anxiety, grief, shame, and vulnerability were also confusing and scary. So she said that she would rather eat cake or drink wine or scroll aimlessly on her phone to make it all go away. That was her thought process for years, until she couldn't figure out why her life wasn't going the way it was. So whether you numb out because you hate your life or just to cope, the remedy is to look at all the troubles you don't want to, walk through the struggle and feel it and keep moving forward. So it's good that she gives her personal experiences in this book, and then she also gives you solutions. So that's really a positive. So another thing that I've made a note of in the book was around feeling like a fraud, the imposter syndrome. So I think I did say this on my Facebook page. I'm not going to lie, that I think that there's a lot of people are coming up with things and calling them complexes. There was one the other day, I can't remember what it was. I think it was saviour complex. And I just had to say to myself, do you know what? Sometimes I don't know if necessarily these labels help people, because what they're basically saying is, if someone's always people pleasing and always rescuing someone, then rather than saying, okay, we need to explore where that's come from, we need to look at why that's happening, we need to help you understand whether that's something you want to continue to do, we just put a label on it and say, well, you've got saviour complex. I don't know if that helps someone. In some cases, labelling helps because someone gets a treatment. But the same as this imposter complex, which is called it, I do know that people who feel like that, but then you have to work with the feelings and the reason people feel that way, so they can then decide whether they want to continue in a certain way or not. So she's put here, at its heart, the imposter syndrome refers to people who have a persistent belief in their lack of intelligence, skills, or competence. They are convinced that other people's praise and recognition of their accomplishments is undeserved, chalking up their achievements to chance, charm, connections, and other external factors. Unable to internalise or feel deserving of their success, they continuously doubt their ability to repeat past successes. I've worked with people with imposter syndrome, and one of the key things, I suppose, as I'm doing the work with the person, is once you show them loads of evidence for why what their beliefs are not true, without saying to them what you believe isn't true, they recognise then rationally and logically that you wouldn't have got the job if you wasn't good at the interview, or if the person, so you might say to someone, why do you believe that the person hired you? Do you think that they just didn't have enough staff? And then that person might say yes, but then at the same time they might say no, because I did really good at the interview. And then you can work from there. Well, okay, if you did good at the interview, what's behind now that you've got the job? Why are you feeling fearful? And then you can look at where the fear has come from. So I do think that is useful. Other parts of the book, she just talks about you don't have to stop comparing yourself to others, just learn to manage it. Most of the time you're comparing yourself every day. You're comparing your everyday life to the few moments that people on social media choose to see the world. That's another thing in itself. I've done lots of videos on that as well. Getting crystal clear on what exactly you're afraid of will get you closer to healing. You can't fix what you don't know is tripping you up. So, as I've said, there's a lot of little quotes in there and a lot of things. It was interesting, but I didn't think, I can't wait to read the next chapter type thing. And I didn't feel I walked away with, but saying that, I've read a lot of books and I'm also a counsellor. So sometimes I'm reading from the perspective of, would this help my client, or would this help me in my practice? It was interesting to read, but I feel like, as I've said with a few books that I've read this year, the title is there to drag you in. So How to Stop Feeling Like SHIT is obviously something that you'd pick up and you'd think, yes, I've got to get that book. Once you start then reading some of the books, the title doesn't always match what the content is. But she did provide some good information, but I don't know if there was like enough in there that I haven't heard before in other books. But yeah, overall, it's a good book. It gives some tips. Obviously, she's got recommendations from Jen Sincero, who's the author of You Are a Badass. That is a brilliant book. I've already done a book review on that many years ago. Yeah, so I would recommend it. As I said, 7.5 out of 10, because I just think there wasn't enough in there to give it a high score, but let me know what you guys think. So How to Stop Feeling Like SHIT by Andrea Owen. Let me know what you think, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Speak to you soon. Bye.